By the time of the so-called economic bubble in the Japanese economy in the late 1980s, Japanese car companies had made significant progress in car development and production. Innovations were everywhere, from the design, where squares and angles were beginning to give way to softer and more rounded shapes, especially noticeable in concept cars, to the technological aspects, from digital dashboards and VTEC to four-wheel steering. Competition among Japanese sports cars was becoming more and more fierce each day, with cars like the Nissan 300ZX, Toyota Supra, and Mazda RX-7. The stars of today's video also wanted a piece of the pie. However, by the late 1980s, their sports flagship, the Mitsubishi Starion, was gradually becoming obsolete, both morally and technically, and it could not present proper competition to the newer cars from its rivals. And as a result, it will be replaced by one of the most technologically advanced and insane cars of its decade. You're watching Redline, and today we're talking about the Mitsubishi 3000 GT, or GTO. Let's get started. But before the appearance of the 3000 GT itself, we should first touch on the concept, or rather the series of concepts, that influenced the final car. Before implementing any technology in production cars, automakers often tested on concept cars, and in this case, the Mitsubishi HSR series was no exception. The first HSR, presented at the Tokyo Motor Show in 1987, stood for high-speed research, and this prototype was named high speed for a reason, with a 2-liter turbo engine producing 295 horsepower, driving all four wheels. The HSR exceeded even Mitsubishi's own stated figures. Well, sort of, because Mitsubishi clearly used a completely different prototype from the one featured in the showroom, reaching 205 miles per hour instead of the claimed 186. Besides the impressive speed for a 2-liter engine, the concept had quite some serious technical features, including elements of active aerodynamics, four-wheel steering, and being able to maintain constant ground clearance at any speed by instantly reacting to road conditions. In other words, back in 1987, the concept had an active suspension and dynamic stabilization system. Moreover, the car featured a navigation system with a keyboard, as well as a rear-view camera with infrared mode for night vision. With the next Tokyo Motor Show just around the corner, since it was held every other year, Mitsubishi's designers and engineers had 24 months to develop a new iteration of the concept. In 1989, they introduced the Mitsubishi HSR2. The acronym now stood for Highly Sophisticated Research. The second generation of the concept focused more on introducing new elements of active aerodynamics. The car received an active rear diffuser, 2 side fins, a front lip, and most importantly, 2 huge air brakes at the rear that could deploy either together or separately. As a result, the drag coefficient could vary from 0.40 to 0.20. The 2-liter engine was replaced by a new 3-liter V6 with twin turbochargers, producing about 350 horsepower and driving all four wheels. Additionally, the HSR2 featured an autopilot system that could register and properly respond to lane markings, signs, and cars ahead using cameras and sonars. Pretty impressive for a concept car made back in 1989. At the same motor show, Mitsubishi presented a more realistic concept named HSX, which would soon enter serial production. Journalists dubbed it the Super-Starion, and the production version, with only minor changes from the concept, hit the assembly line in 1990 under the name of Mitsubishi GTO. It shared a platform and a 3-liter V6 engine, codenamed 6G72, with the Mitsubishi Diamante, and revived the name of the hardtop coupe Mitsubishi Galant GTO, which had been produced back in 1970s. However, for all other markets outside of Japan, the car was given a different name, 3000 GT. The company believed that car enthusiasts would not be pleased with the use of the name Gran Turismo Omologato, or GTO, on a Japanese car, due to the existence of the Pontiac GTO and Ferrari GTO models. Differences between the concept and the production cars included the absences of a wide interior, the targa roof, and a different spoiler. The public received the car's futuristic design very positively, while critics saw in the Grand Tourer a copycat of the Corvette, Porsche 944, and even the Ferrari Testarossa, especially considering the side grills. As a realistic, road-going adaptation of the HSR, The car was certainly not lacking in technology. The first series of the model, mainly distinguishable by its pop-up headlights, boasted a 3-liter twin-turbo V6 with individual intercoolers, producing 300 horsepower and 307 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 5-speed manual transmission and permanent all-wheel drive. The power distribution was 45 to the front and 55 to the rear. All of that accelerating the car to 60 miles per hour in 5.5 seconds, reaching a top speed of 155 miles per hour. Although the power of Japanese GTOs was limited to 276 horsepower due to a gentleman's agreement. The car also featured a 4-wheel steering system named Mitsubishi AWC, or all-wheel control. It also had electronically controlled suspension and exhaust, with touring and sport modes. In touring mode, the suspension was much softer and the exhaust system routed gases to the driver and passenger sides. In sport mode, however, the suspension became much stiffer and the exhaust system routed almost all the gases through the driver's side, resulting in less resistance and thereby increasing performance and exhaust volume. Finally, the car had active aerodynamics, with a movable rear wing and a hidden front wing, which activated at speeds above 50 miles per hour, achieving a drag coefficient of 0.33. All these features could be found in the top-tier 3000 GT trim named VR4, or Viscous Real-Time 4-Wheel Drive. The VR4 would have cost its buyer $34,000, which is equivalent to $78,000 in today's money. However, there were simpler configurations available. Besides the twin-turbo V6, a naturally aspirated variant of the same engine was also offered. Instead of all-wheel drive, there was a front-wheel drive option. And together with a 5-speed manual, there was an optional 4-speed automatic. Depending on the market, the engine had either 12 or 24 valves, producing 164 horsepower in the 12-valve version and 224 horsepower in the 24-valve version, compared to 300 horsepower of the turbo variant. The simplified 3000 GT models also lacked active aerodynamics, adjustable exhaust and suspension, leather interior, power windows, and a sunroof. Consequently, the price for the simplified 3000 GT was lower, starting at $22,000, or about $50,000 in today's money. Speaking of markets, we can't forget about the 3000 GT's twin brother, the Dodge Stealth. This car existed thanks to the alliance between Mitsubishi and Chrysler, and was sold alongside the 3000 GT from 1991 onwards in the American market. The Stealth mainly differed from the 3000 GT in its exterior design, which clearly borrowed elements from the Dodge Intrepid concept, presented at the 1988 Chicago Auto Show. The Stealth, like the 3000 GT, was assembled at the same factory in Nagoya, Japan. However, compared to the 3000 GT, the Stealth did not feature active aerodynamics. It was offered with the aforementioned 12-valve V6 in the base configuration, while the 3000 GT's VR4 counterpart was the RT twin-turbo. But equipping a sports car with technologies like all-wheel drive, 4-wheel steering, active aerodynamics, and adjustable suspension and exhaust systems could only mean that the car could not boast a light weight. The VR4 weighed in at 3,790 pounds, with the Stealth twin-turbo weighing in at about the same number. The automotive magazine Car and Driver decided to compare the Stealth to a very similar car, the new Nissan 300ZX Z32, which had hit the market not long before the 3000 GT. Just think about it, both cars had twin-turbo V6 engines producing 300 horsepower, ABS, 4-wheel steering, and 2-mode adjustable suspension. But unlike the Dodge, the Nissan could not boast all-wheel drive, and compared to it, the Nissan weighed about 220 pounds less and was slightly bigger in dimensions. The cars were tested at one of Chrysler's proving grounds, where both vehicles completed the track at about the same time. However, their behavior on the track was completely different. While the 3000ZX could boast perfect composure and responsiveness in corners with only slight understeer, the Stealth achieved the same results with less finesse and more brute force. the stealth really shone on the long stretches of the track, while in some corners there was a noticeable lack of connection with the front wheels, as well as evident front brake fade. The 3000 GT's weight distribution of 58 to 42 compared to the 300ZX's 53 to 47 only exacerbated the situation, and ultimately the judges deemed the 300ZX as the winner in this comparison. Other road tests showed that the heavy 3000 GT could indeed outpace its competitors such as the RX-7, Supra, 300ZX and the Corvette in the 0 to 60 accelerations, but began to lag behind in accelerations to 100 miles per hour and beyond. It became quite clear that the car needed to shed some weight. In 1993, the 3000 GT underwent its first facelift. The changes included new bumpers, side skirts, and a hood. Most notably, the hidden headlights were replaced with regular ones. The twin turbocharged engines gained an additional 20 horsepower and 8 pound-feet of torque, now paired with a 6-speed manual transmission. Starting in 1994, larger wheels were introduced, ranging from 16 to 18 inches in diameter, available in both silver and chrome finishes. This allowed for the installation of more effective brakes with larger diameters, which showed significantly less fade during intense use compared to the brakes on earlier models. By next year, the 3000 GT, like its American twin, due to the bursting financial bubble of the Japanese economy, will no longer have variable exhaust. By 1995, the electronically controlled suspension will be phased out and active aerodynamics will no longer be installed in the 3000 GT by 1997, and the VR4 model will weigh just about 3,740 pounds. All of this was done in order to reduce the cost of producing these cars, and in 1996, Chrysler will take the Dodge Stealth off the production line, with a final figure of 65,303 cars, 9,651 of which were RT twin turbos. Additionally, in 1995, Mitsubishi, an American sunroof company, began collaborating to convert the 3000 GTs into hardtop convertibles, selling them exclusively on the American market. These were the first mass-produced hardtop convertibles since the 1959 Ford Skyliner. Naturally, the installation of the retractable roof mechanism significantly increased the weight. The SL Spider model weighed 3,650 pounds, while the VR4 Spider weighed a hefty 4,120 pounds. A total of 1,618 Spiders were produced, 877 of which were VR4s. By 1996, production of the 3000 GT Spiders was discontinued. It's also worth noting the special version of the GTO called MR, which appeared in the Japanese market in August 1994. MR stood for Mitsubishi Racing, a designation also used on other models such as the Lancer Evolution, indicating a lightweight version. The GTO MR was still equipped with a twin-turbo engine and all-wheel drive, but lacked most of the technological features including the ABS, reducing the weight to 3,640 pounds. The Japanese TV program Best Motoring compared the GTO MR to the R32 Skyline GTR, the latter also being lighter, but the GTO MR still finished the track with a lead of 126 milliseconds and a top speed of 162 miles per hour. Finally, in 1997, the second facelift of the 3000 GT was released, also referred to as Generation 2.5. It wasn't until 1999 that the car received updated bumpers, headlights, and a spoiler exclusive to the VR4 model named Combat Wing. Approximately 280 Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4s from the final year of production were imported into the US. After the discontinuation of the Stealth, the 12-valve engines were now installed in the base 3000 GT models from the 2.5th generation onward to reduce the car's price even further and make it more accessible to buyers. By then, the price of a VR4 had risen to $46,500, nearly $100,000 in today's money. Not to mention that the demand for this model was already declining, and reducing costs in the way akin to this was Mitsubishi's last attempt to keep it afloat. Ultimately, 1999 was the final year for the 3000 GT, and the GTO's production ceased in 2000, and developing a successor to the heavy Grand Tourer was deemed unnecessary, especially with the launch of the third-generation Mitsubishi Eclipse at around the same time. Thus, Mitsubishi decided to discontinue the GTO altogether. However, like its predecessor, the Starion, the 3000 GT also participated in various motorsports disciplines, and for one person, this car marked the beginning of a professional tuning career. I'm talking about John Hennessy and his modified 3000 GT VR4, named the Hennessy VR200. This car was equipped with upgraded turbochargers, a modified ECU, and a different fuel system, producing 450 horsepower. John secured first place in the Silver State Classic Challenge, a race held on a closed 90-mile highway in Nevada, finishing with an average speed of 166 miles per hour. Following this, John participated in the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, where he finished 10th. And later, he competed at the Bonneville Salt Flats, where his VR200 achieved an average speed of 176 miles per hour, setting a record in the F-Production/Supercharged class. Additionally, the 3000 GT and its American counterpart, the Stealth, continued to appear at Pikes Peak. Racer John Norris competed in a stock 3000 GT VR4, winning in the stock class in 1992, 1993, and 1994. And a year later, in 1995, another racer, Sean Hendricks, won the IMSA/Bridgestone Supercars class, driving a modified Dodge Stealth. In the end, it would be difficult to call the 3000 GT a failure, with a total of 86,151 units sold in the US alone, including 15,539 VR4s. By the mid-1990s, both manufacturers and buyers were becoming more rational, favoring lighter and more agile sports cars like the Porsche Boxster, BMW M3, and Mazda RX-7. The era of powerful and technologically advanced old-school Japanese Grand Tourers was coming to an end, and the 3000 GT never got a successor, and considering the current state of the company, it's unlikely that it ever will. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the newest episodes. And I'll see you in the next one.